Hello friends, I welcome you back to the second session of English poetry paper. In the last session, we have already seen the new syllabus that is implemented from June 2020. So, while discussing that syllabus, we also come to know that it contains four modules. First module is a reading background. In that, we are supposed to learn three subtopics. First is Elizabethan poetry, second is metaphysical poetry, and third is a romantic poetry. As I told you while discussing the new syllabus, that there is no large difference between old syllabus and new syllabus. Certain texts were different, but the basic structure of rendering of the topic is the same. That in the last syllabus, we see that every general topic or general background topic is followed by three poems. Similarly, here also you can see that every general topic follows text from it, follows the examples of it in the new syllabus. So this module number one becomes very important to understand the remaining syllabus. So if we learn English poetry as a general topic, then only it is possible for us to learn the prescribed poems, that is in module number 2, selection from Elizabethan period. Similarly, metaphysical poetry, you can see you read module number 1B, metaphysical poetry, general background topic, and you are supposed to learn three poems of a metaphysical poetry in module number 3. And similarly, in romantic poetry, that is module number 1C and module number 4, you can see that there are four poems from this romantic period. So it becomes very necessary or important part, a point for us to understand these three topics, that is metaphysical poetry, Elizabethan poetry, and romantic poetry, because after understanding these general topics, we are able to understand the prescribed poems for the syllabus. So in this session now, let us begin with Elizabethan poetry. Before going directly towards the what exactly the meaning of Elizabethan poetry, it becomes very necessary for us to understand the social, cultural, political, economic, religious perspective or the context of the period. Because here in this sub point, we are supposed to understand all these things. What kind of culture was there? What kind of social, political situation was there? And how all these poets, Elizabethan poets, respond to that socio-cultural phenomena. So we are supposed to read all these things in Elizabethan poetry, that is a general topic. And after understanding the historical context in this module and the characteristic features of Elizabethan poetry in this module, we are supposed to understand the poems in module number 2. That is why A, B, C, three poems were prescribed to you in module number 2. So let us begin with Elizabethan poetry. This is again a part 1 in which I am going to deal with social, cultural, political, religious, philosophical changes that happened in Elizabethan period and how these changes influences the modern life. Till today, you can see that we are facing, or we have the impact or influences of these changes on our cultural, social, artistic renderings. So now let us begin with Elizabethan poetry. So nomenclature of historical period. Nomenclature means name of the historical period. So this historical period is known as Elizabethan era, Golden Age, English Renaissance, Age of Shakespeare, the beginning of the British Empire, and Age of Enlightenment. If you look at all these nomenclatures, you can understand that all these nomenclature represent and reflect certain characteristic features of the era. For example, when we say that it is an Elizabethan era, we the focus is a political one, as most of the literary historians have chronologized literary history with the chronology of a political history of the nation. So this Elizabethan era, we are calling it as an Elizabethan era because it is named after Elizabeth, Queen Elizabeth first, who was the queen at that time, at at that time of Elizabethan period. So this Elizabethan era has a political connotation. Then Golden Age. You can see that this period is called as a golden age because in this particular period we found that there is a flourishment of art and literature, and therefore it is known as the golden age of art and literature, because we see that there are several subgenres of literature that were flourished in this particular age, and there are several poets who contributed to the English literature in this particular period. You can see that there are several poems till today prescribed in several syllabuses at graduate, undergraduate, and even at school level. So this period is called as the golden age of literature. So this is also one of the very significant nomenclature of this historical period. Then English Renaissance. So we are supposed to understand what exactly the Renaissance is. Renaissance is a French word. It is derived from French language, and it means rebirth. So this is a rebirth, this is a revival of ancient Greek and Roman knowledge. So we are supposed to learn it in the next slide, what exactly the Renaissance, because this moment, philosophical, intellectual and academic moment, is very important to understand the Elizabethan period. Without understanding Renaissance, it is impossible for us to understand Elizabethan period. Then age of Shakespeare. This is also a nomenclature of this historical period. This period is also marked with the development of a drama. And Christopher Marlowe and Shakespeare, who are the most important dramatists of this particular period, especially the Shakespeare. So therefore, his 37 dramas. Till today, you can see that in drama syllabus, you will see that Shakespeare is prescribed to. There are several special papers on Shakespeare taught all over the world across the universities. So this period is also known after the name of a great dramatist, Shakespeare. So this is also called as the age of Shakespeare. Then the beginning of the British Empire. This is also the period of colonialism. So this begin the colony. British government started a colonizing different remote areas of the world. So this is the beginning of the British Empire. Similarly to the Elizabethan era, this particular nomenclature also uh, connotes the political understanding of the period. Then age of enlightenment. Similar to the English Renaissance, this age of enlightenment also connote about the philosophical context of the period. This is also known as the age of enlightenment. Here we are moving from belief, faith to the reason and science. So therefore it is called as the age of enlightenment. So these are the nomenclatures of Elizabethan poetry. Sorry, Elizabethan period. Then historical perspective. You can see the historians consider the three major divisions of European history. What are they? First, the classical or ancient era, during which the Greek and Roman civilization flourished. That is the 500 to 500 CE, 500 BCE to 500 CE. Then the Middle Ages, which is also known as the Dark Ages, medieval era, which lasted from 500 C to 1500 C. Basically this is called as a dark era because we know very little about this era. Very little documentation is done in this particular period, so it is called as a dark era. Then the modern era, which began with the Renaissance and continued to the present, that is Elizabethan period. You can see that Elizabethan period is in fact a bridge between Middle Ages to the modern period. So this is a transition between Middle Ages to the modern times. So in this particular period, we can understand there is a great shift from different things to the different ancient thing to the modern things. So therefore it is also called as a era of a transition, the great transition. We see the transition in philosophy, we see the transition in uh, uh, academics, we see the transition in medical science, we see the transition in politics, we see the transition in religion. So there is a transition in this particular period. So this historical period is also known for the period of a great transitions. So this is the historical perspective. In this perspective, we should know that there are three major categories in history of Europe: uh, the classical period, medieval period, and the modern period. Then what is Renaissance? As I told you, without understanding Renaissance, it is impossible for us to understand Elizabethan poetry. So what is Renaissance? Renaissance, as I told you, Renaissance is a word derived from a French language, and it connotes that it is a rebirth or a recreation, a revisiting of the ancient Greek and Roman uh, philosophy, ancient Greek and Roman art, painting, and all these things we are revisiting to the. So this is this basic definition of the Renaissance. Renaissance is a movement and the period in European history making the transition from the Middle Ages to the modernity and covering the 15th and 16th century. You can see that basically when we think about the origin of this movement, we found it in even in the 13th century. That is in Italy. You can see there is a one city that is a Peninsulia, and in the Peninsulia, this Renaissance most of the historians think that it is the origin of Renaissance movement. But soon after that, you can see that it is spread all over the world. Initially, the feudal system, the absolute monarch system, all these created many hurdles in between this new movement. But eventually, you can see in the 15th century, especially in the era in the age of Elizabeth, you can see that it gets a wild entrance into the Europe, into the England. So this is a movement, and this movement we can't say that it is only academic movement. We can't say that it is a political movement because it is a change into the entire outlook of the world, entire academics, entire philosophy, entire religion. You can see uh, is under change in this Renaissance. So this is a rebirth of a old knowledge, but at the same time it also connotes uh, new things were originated in this particular period. So the revival of European art and literature under the influence of a classical models in the 14th and 16th centuries. This is again a general definition of a Renaissance literature. So what happened with literature, especially European art and literature? It get influence from the classical models. We will see that how Caxton invented a press, how it is established in Gutenberg invented a printing press, and how Caxton established it in Europe and in England, and how the she published classical text, and how newly educated public of Europe Elizabethan period, Elizabethan England, start reading that and get influenced by a classical literature of a Roman uh, England. We are supposed to read all these things in upcoming slides. So this is the simple definition that revival of European art and literature under the influence of classical models in the 14th and 16th uh, centuries. Then see, intellectual thought in these fields flourished during the time frame of Renaissance and lead to many people questioning long held belief about each. So this is the period of disbelief. What we see that this is the basic tendency of a disbelief. We start disbelieving what is already written, what is established. We were disbelieving about a religion, we were disbelieving about the political hierarchy, we were disbelieving about the social systems, and we are start questioning all these things. And these all these things we are questioning in the light of a logic. We are questioning all these things in the light of a reason. We are questioning all these things in a light of a rationality. We can say the new rationality, which is not under the influence of a religion, but it is under the influence of a science. So this is the intellectual thought in these field flourished during the time frame of the Renaissance and led to many people questioning a long held belief about each. Then they created an environment of discovery and curiosity in which new ideas were constantly being introduced and tested. This is the period, as I told you, this is also known as a period of an enlightenment. The people start questioning, people start thinking about everything critically. They start judging everything from a logical perspective, logical point of view. They were dealing with a scientific methodology, and as a result of that, you can see that an environment is created of a discovery and curiosity. In this is the period when the colonialism is started. So this is again the birth of colonialism, is also the birth of this period, discovery and curiosity. They discover different lands and they establish the colonies. It is their curiosity to explore the world. So you can say that they established a huge empire in this particular period, and therefore it is also called as a beginning of the empire. Then the most significant changes that emerged as a result of Renaissance can be seen in European architecture, art, literature, mathematics, music, philosophy, politics, religion, and science. You can see that all these things were covered, all these things were influenced by the thought of a Renaissance. And therefore, as I told you, without understanding Renaissance, it is impossible for us to understand Elizabethan period. So this is a basic definition of a Renaissance. So this is a rebirth of knowledge. You can see development in different fields. In this particular period, we see that the changes happened, development in different fields. Monarchy. Monarchy is no more absolute in Renaissance. Uh, the senate was established, and all these things we will read in political development during this period. Age of drama. Greek and Roman dramas were again staged in this particular period. Then humanistic cultural reformation, this is also very important thing. Humanistic cultural reformation, but instead of exploring it here, we will explore it in the next slides. Then a list of uh, the list of sorry lust of libidos. This is again related to the humanistic, the how individual is important, how the body is important than the idea. Lust of libidos. Then enlightenment of human mind. As I told you, this is the period of enlightenment. We are moving from belief to reason, religion to science. Then a rivalry of chivalry. So this is again a part of politics. Reformation. In every field we go for a reformation. Fall of Constantinople, another important political situation happen event happened in this particular period. Roman sorry in the not in this period, but you can say the fall of Constantinople also influences this Renaissance movement, and it uh, accelerate its speed into the European other part of the nation. So fall of Constantinople is not is also a very historic, very important event in history that accelerate the speed of Renaissance. Then Roman Catholicism. Uh, there is again the Protestant and Catholicism. We see it in the next slide about what exactly the difference between Roman Catholicism, how they think about the world, and Protestant, how they think from a new perspective towards the world. And then the invention. All of we know that this is the period of inventions. These British people start inventing the world, start inventing many things in this particular period. So the Renaissance begins as a revival of interest in the literature and culture of ancient Greece and Rome. It emphasizes emphasis was on the richness of earthly life and on human achievements. One result of the Renaissance spirit was a brilliant period of a creativity in the art. This is also very important thing. As I told you, this is the period of a humanism. What is the meaning of humanism? The humanism means the focus of everything goes on the human instead of the ideas. Classical period, you can see that classical period is marked with idealism. However, modern period is marked with humanism, individualism. So, and when the individual becomes important in the philosophical thought, where the individual is important, that is called as a humanism. Then the major reason behind the rise and development of Renaissance. This is also very important to understand. That is also very important to understand the changes that happened in Elizabethan period. The first thing is a corruption in church. Second is a blind submission to Pope's command. Churches were dominant. Great chain of being. So all these things influences to rise and development of the Renaissance movement, that also influences to this period, and therefore this period is also known as an English Renaissance. Then transformation, as I am saying that this is the age of a transformation. So from Roman Catholicism, the previously you can see that there is a Roman Catholicism, religion, church, clergy, God, truth, sacred, medieval technology. All these things are important. Roman Catholicism, they are very sorry. Roman Catholics are very strict in their in following the rituals of the religion. In this Roman Catholicism, church is very important, clergy is very important, God is supreme, truth is uh, truth, that is not a social truth, that is not a political truth, that is not a historical truth, but that is only a political truth. Then sacred. So all these things, medieval technology, all these things are important in the previous period. However, in the Elizabethan period, all these things were transferred. So Roman Catholicism is get a reaction as a Protestant uh, Christianity. So the ancient Christianity is substituted with a modern Christianity, where the church is not important, the human is very important. There is also very important thing. So when we think about the Renaissance, there is one Roman philosopher, that is Copernicus. There is one sentence that the man is the measure of all things in the world. It means the man is important, and that is written by a Roman philosopher. And this thought is revived in the Elizabethan humanism. So the Renaissance is important in this particular period. We move from the medieval technology, medieval knowledge, medieval medicine to the new modern type of the things. Then reason is important than religion. Scientific outlook, scientific methodology is important than the reason. Then rationality is important, culture is important, science is important, individualism, instead of relying only on the ideas, we rely on, we value the individual. Then skepticism, intellectual inquiry is important. Instead of a blind belief, blind faith, we accept the intellectual inquiry. Then logic is important than the religious sermons. Then travel is important, which is banned many times in a religious context. Argumentativeness in in every uh, thing is also important. That gives a scientific outlook to the every endeavor of a human being. Then secular, then free expression, reform. So all these things, you can see that there is a transformation of all these things into a new one. And see, during the Middle Ages, the mysteries of the natural world were viewed as a part of God's design. You can see the great chain of being. That is again a hierarchy. Godly things were put on the upper part, and less godly things were put on the lower part. God is on the pyramid, and on the base of the pyramid you can see the minerals. So that is again uh, that is the belief in Middle Ages. uh, During the Renaissance, however, more and more people accepted secular, that is a non-religious attempts to understand the natural world. So what is written in Bible, what is written in a religious sermon is not important. What is written in a scientific innovations, what is written in the scientific texts are more important than the uh, all these things. So this is a change between belief to reason, religion to science, Catholic to Protestant. Catholicism, they were the orthodox religion. They give more importance to the church, they give more importance to the clergy. Whatever the clergy say, that is the truth for them. However, the Protestant reject all these things, and they try to push that not only clergy but all other who were doing their services for the church are important one. Therefore, Protestant is a modern outlook of a Christianity. Then, according to the Christian religion, earth had become, so this is again a very important kind of, this is a shift from a religious thinking to the modern thinking. See, according to the Christian religion, the earth had become a place of change, corruption, and death after Adam and Eve committed the original sin of eating the forbidden fruit of the tree of knowledge. So this is again, you can say that this is related to the truth in Bible. This is a biblical truth. Medieval people consider everything in a sublunar sphere, that is located beneath the sphere containing the moon, sun, and planet, to be mortal or subject to death, while everything above the sphere on the moon was eternal. So this is a purely a religious belief. There is no scientific base to this kind of thought. But Nicholas Copernicus, you can see, he wrote Revolution on the Heavenly Sphere, heliocentric theory. What is this heliocentric theory? Heliocentric theory is the planets were moving around the sun, and that is more scientific. But you can see that this clergies and this religion was so influential that this Copernicus explored this theory, or this theory was explored to the common public after 30 years of its in first invention. Then Europeans no longer looked up to the sky with the same certainty that they were looking at the home of the angels. So this is the change. This is the you can see the crack to the old established beliefs. So the Europeans no longer looked up at the sky with the same certainty that they were looking at the home of the angels. Then Elizabethans found a new faith in the power of the individual to unravel the mysteries of the physical world. So they adapt the scientific methodology instead of a religious belief. Just as a human being in the early 16th century had explored the great unknown area of the world map. So this is the expansion of a world map also. So the unknown regions which have previously been described in supernatural terms were suddenly transformed into a concrete world geography. So this is the shift from ignorance to knowledge. Scholars turned their attention to classical Greek and Latin learning and shifted to more rational. That is a very important thing. They shifted to more rational rather than spiritual belief or church authority approach to philosophy, religion, and science. So this is they adapt a more scientific, rational, logical methodology to look at philosophy, reason, and science. Then Renaissance education and rise of humanism. Uh, see, scholasticism and humanism. This is a shift from one philosophical methodology to the another philosophical movement. So, an effort to reconcile the teaching of the ancient classical philosophy with the medieval Christian theology. Here also, you can say that Christian theology is important rather than the real scientific truth. The student then entered a philosophical debate trying to reconcile Christianity and ancient philosophy through logic. So, the basic motive of the education in this period, in that medieval period, is discovering a uh, religious truth. It is not discovering a scientific truth, but they were moving their inquiry is to understand the religious truth. They were not going to understand a rational or scientific truth. Then humanism, it is very simple. It is the culture and intellectual movement during the Renaissance following the rediscovery of the art and the literature of ancient Greece and Rome that focused on human values, interests, and welfare. So here you can see we are focusing on human values. We are not focusing on the religious ideas, religious idealism. What should be there? We are not thinking, we are thinking what is there. So this is a shift from idealism to individualism. And you can see this shift we also found in thematic perspective of a literature of Elizabethan period. Then impact of humanism. See, the medieval thought church and kind most important. That the religious institutions were most important. Then man is sinful. They believe that man is sinful. He is on the earth because he has committed sin. Hierarchy of a people's worth. People's hierarchy is worth one. They follow the hierarchy. Every individual is not important, but the few individuals who were working in the church are more important. Life's pleasures must be avoided to please God. This is also very important. That instead of going for the physical pleasure, we should go for a spiritual revival. This medieval thought contains accept the human condition. What accept the human condition as it is, then accept church doctrine without questions. Whatever the clergy says is the truth, and you should accept it in a medieval period. See the humanism, that is the Elizabethan period. Individual is important, not a church, not a clergy, not a priest, but individual is more important. Every individual working in the church was giving services in the church, and other general public are important than the clergy, priest, and pope. Man is good with the dignity and worth of all people. He is not a sinner, but he is a good with the dignity and worth of all people. The humanists were thinking people can enjoy life and still be good Christians. So instead of avoiding the pleasures of life and only going for the strict uh, or the following the orthodox Christianity, they start enjoying the life and still being the good Christian. So the definition of good Christian is transformed in Elizabethan period. Then encouraged human achievement. So instead of accepting human condition as it is, humanism encourages human achievements. Then each individual finds the truth for himself. So individualism in truth is also very important. Instead of following absolute truth prescribed by a religious sermon, is rejected, and it is substituted with an individual truth that is more important in this project. The printing press helps bring humanism to England. As I told you, the printing press, a machine that could quickly print copies of texts in large quantity, helped spread the value of humanism across Europe during the Renaissance. You can say that the education in this particular Elizabethan period, you can see that there are several people start reading, and this is also one of the success. This is also one of the impact of a printing press, because the printing press made the available the copies of the text to the general public with an affordable price. So William Caxton established a press in Westminster in 1476, and he start printing a classical text there. 100 titles were published immediately after establishing this press, and is distributed all over the Europe. That also accelerate the speed of Renaissance in England and Europe. Then classical texts were printed in the vernacular English. This is also very important thing. You can see in India also, you can see that the text were written, the very important text, Vedas and all the Puranas were written in a Sanskrit. And the Sanskrit is a knowledge of a very limited person. It is not the knowledge of everyone. So when we see about Dhaneshwar, what he did, he write a uh, Gnaneshwari, or he write the Gita Vivechan. He write, and that is again a, when he write a Gita Vivechan, that is for the general public. So similarly, in this particular period, Roman and Greek texts were written in a vernacular English. That is vernacular English means English that is used in day to day life, and that is the vernacular English is used to translate the classical text were translated into vernacular English. That is very easy for the people to understand the classical texts. Then general background, we have already covered all these things. These are the things that I have uh, uh, chopped out for you in from a Hudson History of English Literature. Every breeze was dust with a pollen of Greece and Rome and Italy. As I told, Renaissance is important. Renaissance, reform and printing press, adventures of exploring new religions of the world, internal peace and prosperity is important, secular and tolerant court is established, religious moderation is important, England safe haven for Protestants, they rejected Roman Catholicism, that is a very rigid kind of Christianity. Then the political influence and personal fortunes of a clergy plumbed, so individual becomes important instead of a clergy and pope. A cosmopolitan sense of mind, daring to question, a sense of self-awareness, that curiosity is also one of the major characteristics of this Elizabethan period. The summary of the lecture, you can see political stability, economic prosperity, spirit of Renaissance, educational reform, establishment of printing press, translation of classical works, advocacy of humanism, individual becomes important than religion, and scientific outlook. If so, you have to write your uh, answer. If write about Elizabethan period, you have to write all these things. You have to explore all this point in your question answer in your answer. That is a political stability. Elizabethan first was on was a monarch of this particular period, and she gives a political stability to the England. Then economic prosperity is there, spirit of Renaissance is there. As I discuss all these things in this lecture, educational reform is there. The printing press made available the text to the general public, and they read it, and this Renaissance was accelerated in Europe and England. Then translation of classics, the advocacy of humanism, individual becomes important than religion, and scientific outlook. All these are the characteristic features of Elizabethan period. So this is a historical context of a Elizabethan period. So when we look at the or when we are trying to analyze or when we are supposed to analyze the Elizabethan poetry in module number 2, we should keep in mind all these things, and then only it is possible for us to understand all these things. So we will stop here, continue the same in the next session. Elizabethan poetry. This is not a very difficult one. When you actually read the poem, you can get the connection with all these things. So we will stop here, come to the same in the next session. Thank you for listening, and stay home, stay safe. Thank you.